So welcome. I'm Gabriel, Trujillo, Superintendent, and thank you for joining us here today. This is, first of all, I want to thank the Sahuaro administration for hosting us. We really appreciate it. Come on in, everybody. Come on in. I want to thank the Sahuaro administration for hosting us here for this brief chat and this opportunity to talk a little bit about the future of TUSD. And before we begin, I kind of want to, because we have like a smaller intimate group, maybe just kind of go around and just kind of introduce ourselves, especially our parents. Tell us where your children or young people go to school. So we'll start over here.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jerry Schuster. I'm a substitute teacher with TUSD. And it's amazing how fast the time goes. I've actually been subbing for 21 years with the district.
Thank you.
Awesome. And our parent?
Yeah, my name's Cherie, and I have a daughter at Sabino, and my son currently is at Emily Gray, but he will be at Sabino next school year.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for joining us.
I'm Cindy. I'm a retired teacher and coach, but also a TUSD parent and alumni. And right now I'm working closely with an alumni group at the high school where I graduated many years ago.
Hi everyone, I'm Carol Rodriguez. I'm one of the assistant principals here at Sahuaro.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Garcia. I'm a TUSD enrollment ambassador for Region 1.
Good evening, I'm Kathy Comstock. I'm the interim regional assistant superintendent for the Arcadia region, and my children graduated from Sahuaro, so a million years ago.
Hello, I'm Mike. I have 3 children in the TUSD school district. I have a boy who attends Whitmore. 2 of them attend Whitmore, and then my daughter also attends Gridley Middle School, and she'll be coming to Sahuaro here next year.
I'm Virginia, and I'm an ex-ed TA at Roberts Naylor.
Awesome. Welcome. Welcome. It was great to see a mix of our employees. I think we have some team members even in the back. So go ahead and introduce yourselves here.
Sure. Hi guys, I'm Beto Rangel. I'm the principal of University High School.
UHS, okay.
Hi everybody, Janetta Paz Gutierrez, assistant principal at UHS.
Awesome, great.
Good evening everybody, I'm Blaine Young. I'm the Chief Technology and Operations Officer.
Welcome. And one more team member, I think?
I'm not a team member. I'm Gail Green, and I'm a exceptional ed TA at Caledon.
Welcome. It's great to see members of the ex-ed committee or the ex-ed community here as well, serving in our schools. So now that we've kind of all got to know each other, I'm very happy that we're here so we can really have an important conversation around 3 areas here this evening that I wanted to make sure that we, talk very honestly about as we talk about the future of TUSD. Because you can't talk about the future of Tucson Unified without talking about the future of Tucson, future of Arizona, or the future of our country, quite frankly, because they're all the same. It's one and the same. There's only really one institution in American life that, whether we support it all the time or not, and with all of its imperfections and all of its funding problems and its challenges and the politics around it, there's really only one institution that holds the promise of transforming the lives of young people in this country and determining the quality of the lives that they're going to lead as adults, and that's the public school. That's the traditional public school district. And it's here. And we have a responsibility to always move it forward, to always be better, regardless of the circumstances in which we find ourselves. And make no mistake, this pandemic, the last 18 months, have presented some very, very serious challenges to our mission of transforming the lives of the over 40,000 students that call us home. So I want to talk about what those challenges are, be very honest about them, and then we'll talk about, just like we have challenges, we'll talk about some of the opportunities that this crisis, this pandemic, and this interrupted learning period have presented to the district in terms of being able to move us forward. And then we'll talk about what are the next steps and the focus areas that we really need to be zeroed in on to transform our district to a destination district that every parent, every student will want to come to, and how we'll get that done and that is through the proposed strategic plan that we'll be taking a look at. And of course, I want to save the last 20 minutes or so, maybe even more, for your questions, comments, and feedback. The draft that's in front of you, these materials, they're going to go home with you. Feel free to take them. And then also, this will be posted publicly for public comment, okay? So that any community member can log on, breeze through it, look at it in more detail at your leisure, leave us comments. The ultimate goal is in the month of May to go to our governing board for a study item, have them lead them through a study session on some of the things I'm going to communicate to you this evening and that we'll discuss this evening, and then ultimately have them vote on a new strategic plan for the district. So with that, let's talk a little bit about the last 18 months. The last 18 months have been destructive, disruptive, and very detrimental to student learning in this district, okay? Forget everything else around the last 18 months. The mission of a school and a school district is student learning, and that has been disrupted significantly. And what's gone on in the last 18 months has been very detrimental to student learning, and quite frankly, been very, very destructive. We know that online learning didn't go over well with our students. It didn't, okay? They didn't respond to it, and we know that. That's not an opinion. We know this. We know that our students, a significant portion of our student body, had serious challenges with online learning, whether it was access to devices, whether it was having adults home to help them with their stuff, whether it was having teachers being able to successfully log on and engage with them. All of the above. Internet access, having challenges with internet access, parents having the challenge of having multiple students on online learning and having the difficulty of trying to figure out how to help all of them. All of those experiences were to the detriment of student learning. We had some islands of excellence, we had some pockets of excellence, but it certainly wasn't the experience of the bulk of our district. So in effect, we had some interrupted learning going on throughout the district, and that interrupted learning is challenge number one. Interrupted learning is the number one challenge for this district at this time. I'm not going to say learning loss, because as educators and as parents, we know that once we teach our kids ideas, concepts, skills, they're there. But what happened was when the pandemic hit in March of 2020 and everything was thrown up in the air and we had to go to online learning overnight, our kids, their progress was halted. So we're picking up where they left off in a lot of ways in March of 2020. And what we know about our students is a lot of our students already came to us behind grade level wise with reading and with numeracy and math. And they're still behind. They were behind in March of 2020, and they're coming back to us behind, and we've got to move them forward. So learning loss is priority number one. And learning loss is something that has shown up in our classrooms across the district. Student angst, student anxiety, student frustration about being in a grade level where the content's a little bit ahead of where they left us. And guess what that's translated to in a lot of situations? Student management problems, disruption, truancy, kids being frustrated and starting to act out. So big challenge number one is the learning loss issue that we have to come together and try to solve. Challenge number two has been an unprecedented, never before seen in American life labor shortage. We have never seen a labor shortage like this. Certainly not in the state of Arizona, and certainly as a nation. This labor shortage is not something that's just impacting TUSD, but it's impacting schools throughout Arizona and schools throughout our nation. We always knew that the teacher shortage issue was a challenge. That you could set your watch by, right? That's been around for a long time. It's always been hard to find classroom teachers. We always have known that. It's always been hard to find special education teachers, ex-ed professionals, paraprofessionals, aides, everything around ex-ed and special education classrooms. That's always been hard to try to find those employees. But what this pandemic has now brought on is now it's almost impossible to find monitors, bus drivers, counselors, social workers, teachers' assistants, paraprofessionals, IT professionals, but we have vacancies across the map. And what that does is it compromises the infrastructure that we need to transform the lives of kids. At the center of any school or school district's efforts to transform the lives of kids, you have the classroom teacher. That is undisputable. You don't have the principal, and I love our principals. You don't have the superintendent. You don't have the board members. You don't have the district office administrators. You have the classroom teacher, okay? But there's an infrastructure around that classroom teacher that needs to be present for that teacher to thrive in excellence. You need paraprofessionals, you need counselors, you need social workers, you need bus drivers, you need HVAC techs to keep the classrooms cool, you need IT professionals to keep the internet access going, to service the devices, you need food services employees, you need those team members to put together that experience called school. And when you have vacancies, you're shifting more and more of the pressure onto the classroom teacher. Overcrowded classrooms because of a shortage of teachers. No parapros available. So the normal help that teachers would get with normally assigned parapros not there anymore. Hot classrooms because we can't hire HVAC techs. And they can't get to the service calls as fast. Routes, bus routes that used to be available to families across the street from their home or down the block have now disappeared into hubs. Now families have to drive their kids 5 or 10 minutes away to designated spots so their kids can get a ride to school because we're down 75 bus drivers. The labor shortage threatens everything that we want to do to transform this district because it chips away at that infrastructure that we need to put around the classroom teacher so that they can thrive in the work that they need to do. Challenge number 3, when we talk about what this pandemic has brought on, not just with learning loss, but with the labor shortage, that certainly I see principals in the room. You see it when you try to log on to Talent Ed and you just don't see that you have those applicants. That's what that looks like. But probably one of the most heartbreaking and serious challenges that we have coming out of this pandemic, it's not just the labor shortage and it's not just the learning loss, it's the fractured relationships with parents and community. And it's absolutely heartbreaking. Before this pandemic, parents and community members could unite behind the district and the schools. Things like literacy, numeracy, making sure that our kids had access to the arts and sports. Now they're fractured relationships over decisions made by our governing board and by this administration about masks, about mandates, about testing, about anything related to the management of this pandemic that has become politicized, okay? And it's our job, whether parents, we've disappointed parents with those decisions, or whether parents have supported us, we have to be a district for all of those parents, especially the parents who we've disappointed in our decision making. We have to earn their trust back. We cannot be a district that says, well, that segment of our student body lined up against the governing board or lined up against the district with regard to masks, we need to write them off. We cannot. This district cannot move forward without the support of parents. We have to get them back. We have to win them back. And trust is, it's a fragile thing, okay? Trust takes years and years and years and years to build, and it takes a moment to shatter. So years and years and years of good faith and goodwill and trust that a lot of the parents had with the district coming in at kindergarten and having their students with the district year after year after year after year and going into high school was broken over the COVID-19 pandemic management era of this district. And now it's going to take some time through action, through relationship building, to try to bring those parents back into the fold. So these are very, very significant challenges that we face that we're going to have to work hard system-wide to address to be able to start to bring the district out of pandemic management into recovery and into a period of a district that's going to thrive as a destination district in this county and the state. But just like we've talked about what the challenges are, let's talk about what some of the opportunities are that we have seen throughout this pandemic and what opportunities have presented themselves to Tucson Unified School District, even as we've aggressively started to combat all of the challenges that I talked about. Number one, we're a one-to-one district now. Every single kid in this district, every single child or young person that wants a device or needs a device has one. That's amazing. That's an opportunity for us. And we'll talk about why a little bit later on when we start talking about the kind of learner that is in our classrooms now. But that's opportunity number one, right? So we talked about challenges, but opportunity number one, we're now a one-to-one school district. So you're a kid, you're a young person here, you need internet access or you need a device. You have one. That's amazing. Opportunity number two. Teachers across this district, and there are 2,850 teachers in this district, classroom teachers. We have seen them become more comfortable than they ever have before with the usage of technology in the classroom. And not just going through a PowerPoint. That was before the pandemic. All of us that, walk through classrooms and stuff, and the teachers would say, hey, we're using technology. It's like, no, you're not. You're just kind of reading from slides. We are now seeing, like we've never seen before, teachers incorporating technology and electronic platforms into their daily instruction, using programs like IXL, using programs like Imagine Learning, actually using the Chromebook as a new notebook, where you're now seeing teachers simultaneously teach skills and concepts on a smart board that are now showing up on student screens and Chromebooks that they have in front of them. This is a tremendous opportunity for us. Teachers that before the pandemic were scared of technology, of using technology, certainly using the devices, but then using programs, are now all of a sudden comfortable with the usage of technology in the classrooms. That's a tremendous opportunity that we need to really capitalize on while we still can, right? So having the devices out there, having internet access widely available for our students, and then having the students or having the teachers be more comfortable with the usage of technology has been absolutely amazing. Opportunity number three is TUVA, Tucson Unified Virtual Academy. It's changed the game in a lot of ways. We've discovered that there is a segment of our student body, right, that actually likes remote learning and does better with remote learning. It's not a big segment, but it's a sizable one. It's around 2,000 students that are doing very, very well with Tucson Unified Virtual Academy. We've seen this whole new platform emerge that creates now new opportunities to serve kids. Students that are now coming in late because they're moving from out of state don't have to sit it out anymore and wait till the next 9 weeks. They can actually jump right into TUVA. Students that are behind on credits and are coming to us a little bit later in their high school career, they can get a jump in TUVA. Students that are having some student management issues, okay, at their respective campuses, who normally may be suspended or removed from that environment indefinitely, now they can go into TUVA. So TUVA has presented itself as a tremendous opportunity for us to leverage a new way to educate kids and to support families. And lastly, and probably most powerfully, this pandemic has taught us new and innovative ways to communicate and collaborate with each other. What we learned in this pandemic, students don't have to be in the same place and time to collaborate and make amazing work together, to put together wonderful projects, presentations, make music, make art, show us what they've learned. They're using these digital platforms that are devoid of brick and mortar to do it. Staff, our teachers don't have to be in the same room to collaborate with each other, to share ideas, to learn from each other, to coach each other, to put lessons together, to put learning activities together. Principals that are in the room, we don't have to have you all drive down to Duffy anymore. 150 administrators deep in the same room to be able to collaborate with each other. We have these new platforms that allow us to share ideas, and they allow us to exchange thoughts and to share what's working on our campuses and where the challenges are. So we have some tremendous opportunities that this pandemic has presented the district with. And it's these opportunities that we're going to have to leverage to combat those big three challenges that I talked about. Learning loss, result of the pandemic, labor shortage, result of the pandemic, and those fractured relationships with parents. Because remember, we're a district for all parents, not just the parents that agreed with us on masks or agreed with us on whether they support the family life curriculum or not, or whatever we're doing with decision making in this district, if their child is enrolled in our schools, they're our parents, and we have to reach out. We have to create structures to rebuild those relationships, and these strengths can do it. So let's take a look at what we need to do to move forward and to become a destination district that, number one, is going to hold the promise of dealing with learning loss, dealing with being able to get highly qualified teachers into our classroom, highly qualified employees to come and serve our schools and rebuild the confidence of the parents in the community that we may have lost their confidence throughout this pandemic, whether frustration with remote learning or our direction on masks or testing or any of our COVID preventative measures. A big focus of this school district moving forward, and what we know we need to do, and what you're going to see in this plan, we have to dramatically expand the arts and music education. And here's why. Arts and music bring communities together like nothing I've ever seen before as an educator. And whether a parent is a gifted and talented parent, an ex-ed parent, a refugee parent, a general education parent from the east side or the west side or the south side, guess what every parent loves to see? They love to see their kids being successful. They love to see their kids performing. They love to see their kids engaged in an activity that shows them at their best. Here's what also we know about the arts. The arts activate both sides of the brain, the creative and the analytical. And students that participate in the arts or that are exposed to the arts or benefit from music instruction or arts instruction, they perform better in math, they perform better in English language arts. Their attendance, their school connectedness, less likely to be involved in disciplinary incidents, it's all there. We have got to be a district that passionately expands the arts in the coming years. Secondly, we need to come to grips with the fact that not every young person wants to go to college or the university. That's not a bad thing. It used to be. It used to be that if you said that, you were sort of anti-college or anti-university. But what we know about career and technical education programs over the years is they're very, very valuable to young people. They're very, very valuable to young people. They become the reason why a lot of young people come into our schools. And they provide validation to young people that what they're passionate about and what they really want to do with their lives matters. And we're going to make those programs available in their schools. We have to dramatically expand the career and technical education route in this district. And we've done so in the last 5 years, but we've got to do more. And when you see some of the amazing programs that we offer, whether it's dental assistant at Santa Rita or the welding program at Choya or the early childhood ed at Pueblo, you got to ask yourself, we got to do more of this. Why don't we do more of this? We've got to put more resources into expanding career and technical education. And number three, as I stated at the beginning when we're talking about the labor shortage, the most serious segment of the labor shortage that we really have to deal with strategically through this plan is doing everything possible to address the teacher shortage. Because the labor shortage is bad enough, but at the heart of the labor shortage and what's more destructive and disruptive, teacher vacancies, the lack of a classroom teacher. Because the entire infrastructure of the educational experience for kids is built around the classroom teacher. And we have to start looking at not just addressing salaries, not just addressing stipends, but we have to start looking at professional learning. What we know is teachers want to be a part of an environment that's meaningful, that they feel successful in, where they feel connected to the work. Salary's important, money's important, and it's great, but we have to start looking at more ongoing job-embedded professional development so that our teachers feel successful in what we're asking them to do. We have a good start, 4 professional learning days, but we have to do so much more. We have to do so much more with not just carving out those professional learning days, but making sure that every single day in the school, there are personnel going into their classroom supporting them, coaching them, modeling lessons for them, helping them with teaching strategies. That's a big part of teacher retention that we really need to make sure that we are addressing with our teachers. Because if the teacher shortage continues the way that it is, we're never really going to realize our goal of making sure that we're transforming the lives of all the kids that call us home. And then lastly, a big focus of what we're going to see here tonight is addressing capital needs in this district. Working with our school board, working with our community to get on more of a systemic and a transparent plan year after year to start dealing with books, buses, and buildings. The capital situation in this district, it's dire, and all of you know that. You can probably take a look at this library, and you can probably pick out 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 20 things that we need to do here with capital, whether it's the carpet or work in the walls or the bathrooms. We've got to start delivering on strategically focused capital goals district-wide every single year. And they need to be predictable, they need to be transparent, and we need to start leveraging other funding sources to be able to do it. Finding out, what does the community want us to work on? What are some of the eyesores that the community is very, very passionate about? And maybe start aiming more of our capital dollars in that direction. Because we do know we have to buy buses. We have to pay the utilities. We know we have to repair HVAC, but what's that meaningful aspect of the capital experience for parents? Maybe it's curb appeal, maybe it's bathrooms, maybe it's the front office. We need to hear from the parents a little bit more. Because here's what's not going to happen. The state's not going to give us more money. They're just not. It's not going to happen, right? The state, we're not going to get more money from the state, so we have to start taking a look at what are our opportunities. The ESSER dollars that came in as part of the CARES Act, wonderful opportunity to make a permanent imprint on this district with temporary dollars. And we've seen some great stuff happening with outdoor learning spaces and with some of the plans that some of our schools have submitted. That's a perfect example of using some of our other funds to shore up and address some of the capital needs. So now let's take a look at how we're going to plan to try to get this stuff done. I'm going to walk you through this draft, and then I want to hear from you. A little bit about this draft. How this came to be is right around the beginning of the pandemic, we got some folks together. We got a group of administrators, we got a group of teachers, we got a group of stakeholders together. And through a series of working sessions, some of them were live, and then March 2020 hit, and then we went to online. Then we started doing it virtually. What's the mission of this district? What's the vision of the Tucson Unified School District? What do we think are values that we can rally around? What are values that we can commit to? What are some strategic priorities that we should set as an organization, as a learning institution, in the service of our students? So what we came up with is what you see in front of you. Number one, a vision. The vision of inspiring a diverse community to connect, learn, innovate, and lead for a better world. So when I say diverse community, it doesn't mean just the kids or the young people. It doesn't mean our students. It means everybody. We want all of our employees. We want all of our students. We want all of our stakeholders coming together to innovate, to lead, and to create. Because we know that every life we transform through education is an imprint that we leave towards a better world, a better Tucson, a better Arizona. And we want that for everybody. We want to prepare all of our students to become responsible, ethical, and engaged global citizens. We want them to thrive in a relevant, dynamic, and joyful educational experiences that embrace cultural diversity. It's a global world now. With all these platforms, with all the Snapchat and the YouTube and the Zoom, people from around the world are creating content and engaging and collaborating with each other. The United States of America is one of the most multicultural, pluralistic societies on the face of the earth. And the more that our students learn to work with people who think and believe differently than they do, the more successful they're going to be in this 21st century economy. We want school to be a joyful and an exciting place for students and young people, for kids. We don't want school to be something that is dreaded, something that's negative. We want it to be supportive, and we want it to be nurturing. So we've outlined some values, some behaviors, excellence, innovation, integrity, diversity, and a caring community. So we want excellence through rigorous, relevant, and diverse experiences for all of our students. We want to innovate. We want to inspire creativity, curiosity, and critical thinking through dynamic, future-focused global learning experience. And if you had to pick one of the values and behaviors that the team, that our committee cited as the most vital, it is number 2, it's innovation. Because what's in front of our teachers right now and parents, who you're raising, they're the most digitally connected generation that we've ever seen. They have a learning style that is totally different than anything we've ever seen. It's different than anything I've ever seen as an educator. And my time in the classroom was late 90s, early 2000s. And these students and these young people learn in a dramatically different way than the students 20 years ago. They thrive when they can collaborate, when they can create, when they can innovate, and when they can connect with people. They are curious. We have to teach them how to channel all of that to be critical thinkers. And that is a whole new way of teaching young people. That's a very, very different way of teaching young people and kids. Because in the 80s and the 90s, it was all teach skills and rote mastery. I give you the problem, you tell me the answer. Guess what this generation needs us to teach them? They need us to teach them how to define a problem and the steps that they would take to solve the problem. It's a new level of critical thinking that we have to be able to teach them, because this is how they're born. They're coming in curious. They're coming in with this intense need to connect with each other and create content. It's a whole different style of learning that we need to be able to embrace. And this is probably going to be one of the bigger challenges of the district, because a lot of our teachers are in later stages of their career, and they've never had to teach this way. It requires a whole different way of teaching. It requires what's called project-based learning, where students work in teams, students have goals, students define problems, students outline steps and plans to solving problems. It's a radically different approach. So innovation is very, very important, because it's only through this approach that we can start preparing our students for 21st century jobs that are going to that right now don't exist, that they're going to be working in about 20 years. 20 years ago, if you would have asked me that in the year 2022, the position social media consultant or influencer would exist and could pay a 6-figure salary, I would say, well, I would ask you, what's social media? 1999, there's no Facebook, there's no Twitter. What's social media? And what does a social media manager do? So there's going to be, imagine in the next 20 years how the landscape's going to change. Integrity, acting with respect and honesty. To be transparent, equitable, and hold everybody accountable in all that we do. And then being a district that champions the inclusion of all individuals by nurturing and celebrating their unique gifts and different points of view. So when I talk about diversity, we don't just want to be a district that celebrates ethnic diversity. Yes, that's important, but there's also academic diversity. Did you know that the Tucson Unified School District is home to one of the largest populations of students with disabilities in the state? 7,000 strong. 7,000 students with disabilities out of 40,000. That means 1 out of every 5 students that you come into contact with is most likely a student in our exceptional education program. And we have all kinds of students. We have students that have learning disabilities in reading, writing, and math. We have emotionally disabled. We have severe and profound, medically fragile, autistic. There's all our ex-ed students. They come in a variety of different learning styles. Did you know we have one of the largest refugee populations in the state of Arizona? We have one of the largest English as a second language populations in southern Arizona, and at the same time, we have also one of the largest gifted and talented education programs. So there's a lot of academic diversity in our district and in classrooms and schools across our district. And lastly, we want to be a caring community. We want to cultivate and grow relationships and a sense of belonging with our community, and really practice empathy and shared decision making. So we talk about future-focused learning. you heard me talk about learning experiences that not only ensure academic growth, that promote and emphasize critical thinking and equipping our students with those skills that they're going to need to thrive in these jobs that don't yet exist. Our strategic goal number 2 is around social-emotional learning, establishing a culture and climate for students and families that support and nurture great and healthy relationships, self-awareness, that provide safe places for students that are having a difficult time at home, at school, and in community. Equity, diversity, inclusion, establishing an equity framework for decision-making that results in high-quality learning experiences, and also making sure that in our decision-making and in our communication, we're hearing from all aspects of TUSD's student body, not just ethnically, but also academically as well. As I talked about, we're a very, very, not just ethnically diverse district, but academically as well, and making sure that all of those voices are heard, especially in the decision-making process. Professional growth. Being a district that commits to professional growth is being a district that's investing in teacher recruitment and retention. Our educators want to feel successful. I don't believe we have any teacher employee that wakes up in the morning and says, I want to be bad at my job. I want to hurt kids. I don't want to be the best employee or teacher I can be today. I don't believe we have any employee that thinks that way. But I also believe we're a district, not unlike any other school district in the state of Arizona or in the US, that we ask our teachers to do more and more and more and more every day. Okay, social studies teacher, you need to be teaching literacy. Oh, and by the way, social studies teacher, you need to be exceptional with strategies to reach students with disabilities that are sitting in your class. Oh, by the way, social studies teacher, you need to master Zoom because you're going to be teaching online tomorrow. Whoa, wait a minute. Where's all the training and professional development? We have to do better at that if we expect our teachers to if we expect them to feel successful and confident in the work that we're asking them to perform. We got to leverage community strength, build meaningful partnerships to solve problems, to find opportunities that are going to support our schools and our communities. And finally, we need to optimize all of our resources. We talked about capital and addressing some of the facilities and some of the equipment and some of the capital needs and the importance of leveraging our resources, looking at different funding sources and figuring out where can we get the most bang for our buck? Where do our parents want to see us spend this money that's been earmarked for facilities and capitals? How do we get them more involved in the process? And so it's important that we utilize all of our resources and alternative funding sources to realize the district's vision, mission, and strategic goals. And when you're talking about optimized resources, now you can start pointing resources at things like music education, career and technical education, capital planning that's going to be reflective of what we hear from our parents and our students. So that's a very, very brief overview of the draft that's going to be publicly posted for public comment for, what do we think, Leslie, the next 30 days or so?
Yeah.
You can log on, leave your comments. You will see it. We're going to bring it forward to our governing board first as a study session where we're going to tell our board about all of the feedback, show them the feedback that we received, and then ultimately, after board member feedback, hopefully a vote later on or early summer, late spring. So for now, we've got about 20 minutes and I want to hear from you, all of you, on your thoughts, suggestions, any areas that you'd also like to see us address in the strategic planning process. Yes, sir. Mr. Schuster.
Hi. Well, one thought that comes to mind that could possibly help involve the parents more, as you had mentioned, would be, and I'm saying this knowing full well that you certainly have more than enough on your plate, but is to have a number of ongoing superintendents forums, inviting parents, students, all community members to give their input, so that way parents could feel, oh, we're being invited to participate in the process that's helping TUSD move forward. And then also, I would say invite, and we talk about diversity, invite as diverse, I'm trying to find the right word, as much of a diversity from the community at large, which would also include, I would think, or like to throw out, the idea of inviting people from the U of A, from Pima College, from various departments, so whether it be the Department of Education, various academic departments, possibly also getting some input from the psychology department, because when we're talking about relationships and how to repair these relationships and how to move forward with cultivating these relationships, that could be a very useful source, I would think. So I'm just saying, we have these resources in the community available to us. The U of A, Pima College, and there they are right in our midst, within walking distance of 1010 and many of our schools. So I would think by involving the U of A, Pima College, and through many superintendents, forums, workshops, inviting the community, which will certainly include parents, because if parents hear, hey, you parents, we're inviting you to help come and we want to hear from you, I think that would go a long way in helping cultivate the relationship that, as you indicated, we need to rebuild.
I think that's a great point. Creating some structures where parents can have direct engagement. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to do it differently, because usually if I'm doing a parent forum, mm-hmm. it's reacting to something, mm-hmm. right? Like throughout the pandemic, getting parents together, talking about the online learning, talking about the Meals on Wheels. There was some decision that was made or something, there was a district incident, and now we're getting on to take parent questions. And we need to do better at no reason, no rhyme or reason, we just want to connect with you. It's, how's it going? Whether it's school safety or transportation or food service, or you have thoughts on your child's experience at school, let's just connect. So I think we need to probably build in a little bit more of those types of opportunities. It's a little bit more free-flowing, so our parents can weigh in a little bit better. And absolutely on the partnerships, leveraging those partnerships to see where some of our other institutions, whether it's Pima Community College or U of A, could help us realize our goals. Appreciate the comments, Mr. Schuster. Anybody else? Any thoughts, opinions, suggestions? Yes.
How do you plan to win back some of those fractured relationships that you mentioned earlier? Do you have any tangible ideas?
I think that's a great point. What we have to do is we have to create structures and opportunities, things like what Jerry was just talking about, events, direct collaboration and discussion with leadership. It needs to happen at the schools, more regularly scheduled interactions with the principal and site administration. And with the district, we on the front end of it have to start engaging those parents, bringing them back into the fold before major decisions are made on the next hot topic. I think that's going to be critically important. I think our governing board did a really good thing by adopting a very easy to understand, color-coded protocol for what happens at different phases of the pandemic. I think part of the frustration with a lot of our parents was the unpredictability and not knowing when online learning was going to be initiated or when it was going to stop, and then the kids are back and now you're in this hybrid schedule. We have to get out in front, and we have to engage parents before we make decisions, and we have to do it through very intentional structures, like not a survey, not a phone call, but actually these publicized forums where people can log on or come in, and we have a little bit more of a town hall style where we say, okay, for example, we are thinking of solving the bus driver shortage issue by having elementary school start at 7:30. Parents, before we do anything, what are your thoughts on that? It's going to be those types of structures, little by little, that's going to start, I think, inviting the parents back in. And that's going to be very, very crucial for us, because the parents that don't have confidence in us and have doubted our ability or our decision making throughout this pandemic, they still have kids in our school, they're still our parents, we're still their district, and we got to really work hard to win them back. And that's only going to happen through us engaging them through collaboration. Big challenge for us. Yes, sir.
We're talking about rebuilding those relationships with our families, which is an absolutely crucial component to all of our positions, whether it's from your office down to an office assistant or a special education assistant. Everybody, I think we all can do a better job and do a lot of various things. What are some of your thoughts too about rebuilding those relationships potentially within the district as well? To maybe put together some of that re-energize some of that good faith amongst us all, because I'm looking at this sort of as an outsider, because I'm coming back to TUSD from after leaving for a few years, and I am rearing and excited and eager, and I'm here to stay. Like I'm not going anywhere, but I also want to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as our team building and revitalizing our team to make sure that we're all having the same message and the same movement going forward, so we can, as a unified front, also re-engage our community, not just our parents, but our local business owners and our Tucson community at large. So what are your thoughts on re-engaging the district as a whole?
Well, step one is a strategic plan.
Right.
This is our mission. This is our focus. These are our priorities. This is what we're going to be about. So I think that has to happen. I think that we have to get out there and assemble folks in person again. We have to get back to in-person meeting and really connecting, because so much of what you're talking about, it's about relationships. It's about relationships, and you can only do so much of that over Zoom. And so establishing a plan moving forward, these are strategic priorities. This is the why. These are the challenges that we're facing. Here are the opportunities. All right, here are the 6 priorities we're going to focus on. Here's how we're going to get it done. And we know that even in this district, just like our parents, at every single school, we have employees that have also lost a little bit of faith in our decision making, and either at the site level or at the district level. Guess what? Just like the parents, they still suit up every day, put the ID badge on, and come to work. They're our employees. We can't check out on them. We've got to get them back, and how you get them back is make them a part of this plan. Here's your role. Here's how we're going to work together, and that's kind of got to be done in person, right? And so I think we're going to be doing a lot of that as a district this summer, in terms of more welcome back events, more sort of setting a new tone for the new school year type events. I think that's going to be incredibly important as our employees come back for the new school year.
Thank you.
Great point.
Yeah, if I can add on.
Yeah.
I've been with the school district for just a little over a year and a half, and I think what the gentleman back there is saying, I know it's a very peculiar time with COVID and protocols and stuff, but certainly it could be an opportunity where, I came from a smaller district, but, where you can kind of, I think this is an awesome presentation. It's good. There's a lot of, hard work that has been put in on this, but how do we communicate this to the rank and file, to the employees? I know, I've seen your video messages that you post for the employees, but a lot of times that's overlooked. Even at my staff meetings, I say, here's the SharePoint. Don't forget the SharePoint.
Yeah.
It's out there, but, how can we push that out there? And I just two minor suggestions. We have our once a quarter professional development days, where you have the live audience, captive audience. Everybody's ready to log on to do their professional training. There's like a golden opportunity there for, you got 3,000 employees online ready to go. Where something like this, an important message like this, which is kind of like our unifying vision, can move forward. Second thing also is maybe at the beginning of next year, I know it's like we're a big district, but why not? Like, why couldn't we rent out U of A McKeel Center and have all 3,000 employees? Let's get in the arena. Let's have a pep rally. Like Region 5, shout out, yay! Region 1, shout out. Kind of like stuff like that. Why not? Like, it's not out of the realm of thinking that we can do that, and we could, just stuff like that to build this community. Because with COVID, I know it's been a weird year and a half, but it sometimes feels like we're kind of like out here, kind of alone a little bit, we want to feel part of a bigger team.
No, absolutely. I mean, we're of course at the very beginning of this phase, right? But this has to be in a condensed format for every single one of our employees. So I like what you're talking about, because you're right. We've done some good stuff. Like, I visited, just in the last 2 weeks, I think I visited about 12 schools. And in each and every single school, I've met a teacher and I've said, so are you excited about your stipend? What stipend? What are you talking about, Dr. Trujillo? You get $7,500 over 3 semesters. Really? I do? Says who? Oh, it's like Martin said. Martin, Mr. Muick, he's principal down the road there at McGee. And Martin, you come to us from Bullhead City, so you have that sort of small district perspective. But you're right, that kind of illustrates that our employees are busy working, and even the good stuff where, you know, we gave them $7,500 and $2,500 every semester. They're not logging into the SharePoint. They're not reading it, and the employees were so excited. Like when I said, "Did you know? Like you get $7,500? Really? For doing what? For working for us. It's a thank you." So we have to, and that's about something that's like popular, right? Getting paid. So you're talking about the strategic plan. We have to be very, very intentional and put it in, I think, a more publicly, the most publicly accessible way, like a one-pager. We're going to be about these things. And I do like the idea of getting us all together on Professional Learning Day 1 and sort of kind of talking about, this is how we're going to start our year. This is what we're going to kick off. This is the vision. These are strategic priorities, so we can kind of get that feel-good going again. Appreciate that, Mr. Muick. All right, I think we are at our time, so I do appreciate everybody coming out, and we know we just gave you the pamphlet, but let me take some time to introduce our longtime governing board member. I used to say remember when I used to say the longest, but I've learned now I'm saying. So I'm saying, let's just say our most experienced governing board member. Had the opportunity to serve as governing board president, I think 3 different times in her tenure. Adelita Grijalva, thank you for joining us. And not just as a board member, but a parent here for us. So thank you for coming out this evening. We appreciate it. And thank you, Sahuaro, for hosting us. And we will be back, I think, what's the next one? Thursday. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Dr. Trujillo, thank you once again.